So it is almost the next day, or actually 2 days later when I'm filming this. Played Rutgers on Saturday. They won 31-7, and yeah, they dominated. Now, if Bowling Green game last Saturday, Michigan played really poor. In particular, J.J. McCarthy played a really poor game, had 3 interceptions. Special teams unit had a couple of fumbles, and it was just overall a really sloppy game that we still ended up winning 31-6. This game we won 31-7 over Rutgers, which is much competition, and we played much better in this game. No JJ McCarthy didn't have like an amazing, fantastic game or anything like that, but he had a good game. He had a touchdown pass in this game, no interceptions. He completed well over, let's say, 65% of his passes in this game. Um, a good day. Corum had a couple of touchdowns, not a whole lot of rushing yards, kind of concerning. The run game is not perfect or where I would like it to be, and the offensive line has been suspect. Um, they've been good. They are still a concern to me. The offensive line, defensive line. Oh my gosh, is the defensive line playing good? Um, or just the defense in general, man. Now they did let up that big 69-yard touchdown pass to Rutgers, and that like I think it was like their third play on offense in like the first quarter was like the first possession, third play, and they had that huge blown coverage 69-yard touchdown pass. After that, Rutgers basically did nothing offensively. Um, we held them to, like I said, basically nothing. Defense played a great game. Defense played a great game. Defensive line played a great game. Um, yeah, we just went out there and dominated and won the game big time. So um, Nebraska next week on the road, first road game. I could definitely tell too that the players were excited to play this game against Rutgers because Jim Harbaugh was back on the sideline, which is good. I feel like you got most of my thoughts if you watched my stream. You probably didn't, but I'm just saying. I stream every Saturday from basically noon to around 11 or 11:30. Night games get done. I don't ever stay up until like 2 or 3 in the morning, like some of these crazy people do when watching like the late night Pac-12 games. Like when USC and like 10:30 at night here in the East Coast. So I don't do that, but I do stream. I stream for about 11, oh, just over 11 and a half hours Saturday. So that's like the big thing I'm doing right now. Come watch the streams. I stream every Saturday. Now, I don't know if I'll be live this Saturday. I wasn't live last Saturday for Bowling Green week because I was at the game. And I don't know if I'll be there this Saturday. I think that this upcoming Saturday when we play Nebraska, I might just go live for the Nebraska game and just kind of stay off of YouTube after that. So uh, either I'll do that or I won't stream at all. But I should be back fully the following week when we play Minnesota. Um, yeah, Michigan won the game and they look good. They dominated. This Michigan win looked more similar to how we looked last year as it, as it pertains to dominating. Um, there's nothing really truly exciting about this game. There was no big time pass. There wasn't some crazy long play that Michigan had. They just did what they usually do. They slowly chipped away and just this game. It was 14-7 at halftime. So it was a slow first half. But second half we went out and dominated that game. What was it then? Like we scored 17 after that. I think it was 17 nothing in the second half. It wasn't no 52 points like we scored in 2022's game against Rutgers. Scored 17 in that game. They scored 7 in this one. Michigan's defense is doing a really good job. Now I know why I know what people are going to say. Oh, they haven't played anybody. They've got no offensive competition. The numbers don't lie, though. Michigan has allowed, I think they said 5.5 points per game or 5.3 points per game, which is best in the country, allowing just over 222 total yards per game defensively, also best in the country. And we've had our fair share of interceptions in these last few games. I feel like we've had more interceptions in the first four games this year than we did last year. Um, that was the one thing our defense didn't do. Um, we got sacks, we've been getting more sacks. I feel like we don't get a whole lot of sacks, and we didn't get a lot last year. We did better with that. We've been doing better with that because I think in the first game against East Carolina we didn't have any, but against UNLV we had like five. And then Bowling Green we had a couple, I believe, and even against Rutgers I believe we had one or two. I have to go back and look because I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, defenses looked really, really good. I don't expect the defense to look any worse. I expect them to look just as dominant against Nebraska. Nebraska doesn't really have that high powered of an offense. What sucks about having such a weak schedule, and I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it. We have a weak schedule. Is that you don't really feel like you get a big idea of how good this team truly is right away. In fact, we what do we play? We play Nebraska, Minnesota. We play Purdue in there, and is that it before we get to that last three games? Because we're 4-0. No, play a couple more games. I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, Michigan State, duh. Michigan State. Excuse me. And one other game I can't remember, but we don't really have a true test until that November 11th game. I believe it's November 11th. Penn State. So it's, we if we're not 9-0 going into that Penn State game, then we're not any good. Just the fact. We There's no excuse. We are better and will be favored by every team up until that game. And I believe we'll be favored against Penn State. We'll be favored against Maryland. We'll probably be favored against Ohio State as well, as long as we keep winning, of course. Michigan's probably going to be favored in every game they play. Now, if they win those, is what's really the question here. Um, and like I said, Michigan hasn't looked like dominant like last year. They last year maybe it's just because of the clock rule change now that the clock continues to run and it's just not allowing us to score as many points with how slow our offense moves. We haven't scored more than 35 points this year, I think it is. We scored 35, 31, 31, and 30. It's like we're scoring in the 30s in every game. Um, and I get it. Those first three games, we could have scored more points. We just took out our starters. Um, I know Rutgers' defense is a little tougher, but I would like to see a 40-point game or more even by this Michigan offense. If we can get that, that would be great. If we could get like a this Nebraska game, if we could win this game like 45-7, that would make me really happy. I would like to see a 40+ point game where it's just Michigan striking on all cylinders. Passing game looks amazing. Run game looks amazing. I don't feel like we've truly looked dominant. There has been games where the pass game has looked dominant and the run game has looked weak. And then as of late, the pass game didn't look dominant against Rutgers, and the run game didn't look dominant against Rutgers, but the score showed that we dominated them. And it's not like it was, look at the scoreboard of the Bowling Green game and we dominated that game, but it didn't feel like we really did. In this game, it felt more like a dominating victory because we weren't so sloppy and we just shut down Rutgers offense. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this team. I know Michigan's good. I know we're a talented team. We're a really talented team. And everyone's been talking about how great we are all off season, and I just haven't really seen it. But maybe it's just maybe my standards are too high. No, are they just going to get better and better and better as the season goes on? Or maybe they're not showing all their cards. Maybe they're just kind of coasting. Like yeah, let's trot our guys out there. We know we can beat these guys. We know we're better than them. Let's put in minimal effort so we don't get hurt. We don't get injured players, and I feel like we've been doing a pretty good job at that. And then get to those late season games against Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State, which are those last three November games. That's a tough stretch right there. So maybe that's when they will play their hardest or play their toughest. I don't know, especially in the Penn State game. First of all, because no, we can beat Nebraska, we can beat Minnesota, we can beat Michigan State, we can beat Purdue, we can beat all these teams without full strength. We can beat all these teams without putting in 100% effort. I know we can because these teams aren't very good. So there's no excuse. My hair is just bonkers. Um, that's it. That's all I got to say. I don't have a whole lot to say about Michigan in this game. They dominated. They won the game. We dominated, won the game. On to Nebraska. Um, but if you, the Big Ten actually had some pretty exciting games going on this past Saturday. Northwestern finally got a conference win in the United States for the first time since 2021 or something like that, and they beat Minnesota. Big win there because Northwestern was actually down pretty big. I think it was like 30-10 or 30-14 or something nutty like that. Northwestern crawled their way back in. You wouldn't think Northwestern would be the type of team to do that because, well, Northwestern's terrible. So, I mean, the fact that they crawled their way back into any game would be a miracle. But against a conference opponent, now, I know Minnesota's not very good, but still really impressive. I got to give it to Northwestern. If you watch the stream too, you saw Evan and I get hype, super excited when Northwestern won that game in overtime against Minnesota. Excuse me. Indiana almost blew it against Akron. Oh, that's the other team we play, Indiana. So we play Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, Michigan State, and Purdue. Those are the last 5 games before we get into Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. I don't believe those 5 games are in order, but those are the 5 games we play. Yeah, bunch of nobodies. And then Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State, which are actually the only teams I would say right now, at least, other than Michigan, that have a pulse in the Big Ten. Iowa got blown out by Penn State. Now Iowa's not a good team. They have a pretty good defense, but even the defense couldn't stop Drew Aller. So we know Penn State's good. Ohio State got that win over Notre Dame, which was a crazy finish. Streamed that whole game on Saturday. Live reaction to it with Evan and Logan was there for a little bit. It was mostly just me and Evan, but it was a great game. Ohio State ended up pulling out the win. Um, which, I mean, as a Michigan fan, it hurts that Ohio State wins. But also it's good because I live around a lot of Notre Dame fans and work with a lot of Notre Dame fans, cocky Notre Dame fans, so it shuts them up for a little bit, just a little bit. So I'm happy about that, and also kind of happy about it. It's like a sort of happy, but also kind of not happy. uh, yeah. So what else happened? I know there was other things that happened. Michigan State got blown out by Maryland. That was funny. Funny. Yeah. Second year in a row, Maryland has destroyed Michigan State. Would have never happened when they joined the Big Ten. Maryland was no good when they joined the Big Ten, and Michigan State was actually pretty darn good in like the mid 2010s when Maryland joined with Rutgers. Rutgers really hasn't gotten any better. Well, I shouldn't say that. Rutgers has gotten a lot better since they joined the Big Ten. I mean, shoot, look back at those early mid 2010 Rutgers teams, especially that 2016 team. Awful, terrible. Greg Schiano, I mean, Rutgers is not great, but Greg Schiano has pulled Rutgers out of 1-11 seasons and the 2-10 seasons to about 5 wins. They usually are averaging about 5 or 6 wins now. I don't think they actually have had 6 wins yet. Had 4 or 5 wins. Usually they average about a 5-7 record now with Greg Schiano. I know they're going to be looking to improve that. They have 3 wins, but now they're 3-1 because they lost to Michigan. So they got to keep going and trying to win to get that bowl game that they probably are trying to get to. Um, yeah, Michigan State. Oh my goodness, Michigan State is a disaster. I don't know what's a bigger disaster, Northwestern or Michigan State. Michigan State might actually be a more embarrassing thing. Northwest. No one has standards for Northwestern. Northwestern is not historically a good program. They've had good years here and there, and then they've had a couple of terrible years, and then their coach got fired over the hazing thing, and now they have to pretty much have a hard reset. Michigan State's in a very similar situation. Their head coach got into some hot water over sexual harassment allegation, and then he's now Michigan State said that they're in the process of firing him. They got absolutely freaking just demolished and horribly beaten by Washington a week ago, over 700 yards for Washington, and at home for Michigan State. They got blown out at home, like it was like 41-7 or something like that. And then they go out the following week on homecoming on their home field again and get absolutely blown out by Maryland, 31-9. Washington made sense. Maryland doesn't. And I know Maryland's no slouch, but they ain't Washington. I know. Washington could have scored 100 points on Michigan State, and it would have been the worst beating in college football history, possibly. Um, it was definitely one of the worst beatings I've seen in a while. Um, Michigan State actually has standards, though. They have a certain standard that they need to live up to. It's not Northwestern. Michigan State is a little bit more prestigious, if you will, but they're in a bad place right now. Bad, bad place. I don't think Michigan State actually hasn't been as good as they have since that 2021 win over Michigan. They haven't reached those highs ever since. I mean, I believe they had a bowl win that year at the end of the year, but I don't think they treated that win as big of a deal as that Michigan win. Because after that, they got blown out by Ohio State. They got blown out by Penn State, and it was just a disastrous end to the season. Michigan ended up going to the Big Ten championship anyway because they beat Ohio State, and then everyone forgot about Michigan State. So, and ever since then, they've been pretty terrible. Ever since they lost Kenneth Walker, and Michigan State decided to pay Mel Tucker $95 million over the course of 10 years. But it looks like they're going to finally get out of that one. They're going to fire him due to cause, so they don't have to pay him, which I guess is a positive for Michigan State. Mark D'Antonio's on the coaching staff, or he's on the team. He has some sort of role. How much you want to bet they're going to try and convince him to come back? How much do you think they're going to pay him to come back and coach at Michigan State again? It could happen. It honestly could happen. I wouldn't put it past him. Mark my words. I'm sure at some point in the offseason, we're going to hear about Michigan State talking to Mark D'Antonio, becoming the new head coach at Michigan State. But yeah, I've gone on for way too long. I need to get out of here. Thank you guys for watching. Join the streams. Go support my friend Evan Chino on YouTube. He mostly makes Steelers videos, Pittsburgh Steelers videos, but he makes Michigan videos every once in a while. He doesn't upload a whole lot, but he makes good content. So go support him. And yeah, gotta say, bye.